Have you ever seen a creature evolve itself into a dead end by becoming too powerful? It's not the dinosaurs, and it's not us humans. Think this is just an ordinary straight-shelled mollusk. Think again. It was the ancient master of the giant squid. Its nickname was the ultimate killing machine. Even Iron Man would be reduced to scraps against it. What's even crazier is that Indian engineers copied its shell design, and the submarine they built became noticeably more efficient. So, who exactly was this creature? It was Orthoceras, the marine ruler that dominated the oceans for hundreds of millions of years. You think you're eating seafood? Back then, you would have been on its menu. Its ancestors were the terror of the seas. 470 million years ago, a nightmare so fearsome that other marine life barely dared to flee. It wasn't the biggest, nor the fastest, but encountering it felt like a guaranteed death sentence. Yet what few people realize is that this ocean ruler, which reigned for 30 million years, ultimately ended up on the plates of wealthy collectors. But first, let's travel back to the Ordovician period and see just how bizarre Earth was back then. The land was completely barren. No flowers, no grass, no trees. It was so lifeless you could almost hear the loneliness of waves crashing on rocks. That's because nearly all life existed in the oceans. Trilobites were the ultimate working-class creatures of the sea, armored like giant pill bugs. They made up roughly 60% of marine life and survived for 300 million years, earning the title of survival champions. But then they ran into their natural nemesis, Orthoceras. The trilobites immediately relied on their ancestral defense, curling into armored balls, a tactic that had never failed them in 300 million years. This time, it failed instantly. Orthoceras transformed into a living chain of death, launching a dozen tentacles at lightning speed to lock the trilobite in place. Then its beak snapped down with a crunch, ending the fight instantly. Scientists have even found exceptionally preserved fossils of trilobites caught while still swimming casually. No struggle, no attempt to escape. They didn't even realize what had happened. Its attack was faster than prey could react, leaving victims clueless to the end. And that's not even the most impressive part. Despite carrying a massive 6-meter shell, Orthoceras could hover with incredible precision underwater. The secret was hidden inside its shell, which was divided into dozens of sealed chambers. Like a 30-story miniature apartment building connected by a thin central tube, it could precisely regulate the gas and liquid in each chamber. More gas to rise, more water to sink, and perfect balance for hovering in place. It was essentially a natural submarine ballast system. Think about it. Humans didn't build practical submarines until around 1900, while Orthoceras had mastered the concept 470 million years earlier. That's a lead of 500 million years. A true pioneer of ancient technology. But even that was just the beginning. Paleontologists discovered something shocking inside Orthoceras fossils. The remains of other Orthoceras, only slightly smaller. Not because of famine, and not by accident. It actively hunted and ate its own kind. Researchers speculate it either consumed defeated rivals after battles, or simply viewed everything as potential food. To it, if it moved, it could be eaten. In the ocean's hierarchy, it played with cheat codes enabled. It dominated the seas for 30 million years straight, sitting firmly on the throne of apex predator. Meanwhile, there was another tiny creature, just a few centimeters long, covered in heavy armor and swimming awkwardly. Orthoceras barely noticed it wasn't even worth a bite. That poor little fish survived by scavenging scraps left behind by the giants. Every day was a struggle between life and death, but that relentless pressure forced it to evolve. Faster movement, stronger bones, sharper senses, and more advanced nervous systems. Slow down for a second, and you'd become dinner. Over time, these creatures transformed from clumsy meatballs into agile, efficient animals. Their descendants eventually crawled onto land, stood upright, mastered fire, built cities, and even left Earth. Then they looked back and studied the predator that had once hunted their ancestors. In other words, Orthoceras helped shape what humanity became. It was both our enemy and one of life's great sculptors. But even the mightiest ruler couldn't escape Earth's changing moods. 443 million years ago, the supercontinent Gondwana drifted toward the South Pole. Global temperatures plunged, glaciers expanded rapidly, and sea levels dropped by over 100 meters. The warm, shallow seas that had sustained the Ordovician world simply vanished. The food chain collapsed from the bottom up, leaving newborn creatures starving. Trilobite populations plummeted, and prey became desperately scarce. Meanwhile, Orthoceras, with bodies reaching nearly 10 meters long, needed enormous amounts of food every day. Without prey, this ultimate hunting machine simply ran out of fuel. Even worse, the 6-meter shell that had defined its dominance eventually became its prison. It was too long to maneuver. As the seas grew shallower and narrower, it could barely move or turn. The weapon it had once been proudest of became its heaviest burden. Fossil evidence shows that in the final few million years, before the mass extinction, Orthoceras rapidly shrank in size and numbers. In the end, it was as if Earth itself had flagged it for removal and hit the delete button. The last Orthoceras sank to the seafloor and vanished forever. The late Ordovician mass extinction wiped out roughly 85% of marine species. It was the second most devastating extinction event in Earth's history. Orthoceras never lost to any rival. It lost to the shell it could never let go of. But the story doesn't end there. Two branches of the cephalopod family managed to survive. One retreated into the deep sea and kept its shell, becoming today's Nautilus. The other made a radical choice. It abandoned its heavy shell, gave up size and armor, and evolved to become lighter and softer. It traded protection for extreme agility, and that gamble paid off. Today, more than 800 species of cephalopods inhabit Earth's oceans. That transparent plastic-like strip inside a squid is the last remnant of that ancient giant shell, the ultimate terror of the seas 470 million years ago. It ruled for 30 million years without defeat. No enemy ever brought it down. It was undone by its own prize shell, and those tiny creatures that once trembled beneath its shadow, feeding on scraps and hiding for survival, are now humans carrying smartphones, reflecting on 400 million years of history while eating its descendants. Today, these former rulers of the oceans lie silently in museums as cold stone fossils. They spent ages evolving toward perfection, believing that perfection would allow them to live forever. But nature is both fair and ruthless. It buried the most magnificent masterpiece, yet spared the humble and unremarkable Nautilus. Looking back at their powerful yet lonely existence, we may realize that survival doesn't require perfection, because simply being alive is meaningful enough. The sea breeze still blows, and the story goes on. Only the main characters have changed.